This is John Henry Scherck, and you're watching 100 Days of SEO.
What's up, my smart friends? I'm Brendan Hufford. You're watching 100 Days of SEO. Today, we are sitting down with John Henry Scherck. Hands down, one of the smartest minds when it comes to B2B content strategy. Now, here's the thing. You're like, I don't do B2B. I have other SEO goals. My website is different. I'm not like a B2B kind of company. Here's the thing. If you don't have a strong strategy behind your content, behind what you're making, I'm not saying you did a little bit of keyword research. That's not a strategy. That's a tactic. What I'm talking about is putting together a whole overarching strategy of exactly how all of this content maps to your business goals. If you've never thought about that, this is the interview to watch. Make sure you watch all the way to the end. John's gonna drop just knowledge bombs throughout from beginning to end. I'm so excited for you to watch this. Let's get into it. John Henry Scherck, thanks for coming on 100 Days of SEO.
Brendan, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So I want to kick things off. I think SEO can be super, not overwhelming, but it's a big topic, right? Because there's a lot of ways to find success. When you start with a new client, how do you decide like what to prioritize? What do you look for? And like, how do you kind of think about, all right, here's where I'm going to get like some high leverage stuff?
So I'd say it really depends on the size of the site and if they have the content in place that they need to rank. Like a lot of companies want to rank their homepage for like a really high traffic commercial term that would just like never will rank, or it would be very hard to rank it for, or they just don't have the right content in place. So typically, because content production takes so long and there's a lot of different forces that need to come together to get content out the door, I typically prioritize content creation and content planning first. And then while everyone starts, and I mean, it could be different though. Like I would, when I first look at a site, I would run it through like Sitebulb, get an idea of like if there's like massive technical issues that would require like replatforming or like getting on a CMS. And even if there is, I'd probably still prioritize content development first. If you don't have the content that's designed to rank, it's just the site's you're not going to see benefit from all the other stuff that you do. And then typically, I would do technical work, but unless it's like a really big site, I'm not going to go crazy on the technical stuff. Like I want to get a clean crawl, but as long as the site's in like good working technical order, and yeah, I would really focus on like content creation, or if they have a ton of content already and just need some work, content optimization. Other things that I think like changing internal links and like internal linking structures can take some time. And that's typically pretty important. So I'd want to get that in the queue early on. But I mean, definitely on a site-by-site basis.
I've always been like I guess I had a very rudimentary understanding of SEO for a long time. And obviously I wasn't wrong because I had success with it. My clients had success with it. It was just a very like rudimentary, here's the keyword, here's the search volume. We make the content and then we do all the things that you're supposed to do to optimize it, right? You put the keywords in the right places and then we build links to it and then that's it. And over the last like 2 years, it's been a big process of, learning about like clustering and hub content and siloing things and site architecture and into how we interlink things. And then probably over the last like 6 months, it's been a lot more looking at search intent, like really starting to focus on what is the actual problem that we're going to solve here versus just it's a keyword, let's put it in the first paragraph, right? Any that type of BS. How do you think about like mapping search intent?
Yeah, so typically the pillars that I create are the pillar of the cluster typically handles like the awareness content, at least at the top of it or above the fold, and really tries to like, and I think it's like some people kind of poo-poo like what is content, or like, how do you define this? But it's actually to rank a what is page is really powerful because you're defining your category or like your product category for a buyer.
Okay, so this is crazy. This is one of the best points so far in this video, and it is so powerful. No matter what your business is, owning the what is search is so powerful. Nicole from Map and Compass does elopement adventure photography. And if somebody was like, Googled what is adventure photography or what is elopement photography, they should find the definition. She should be the one defining that. If I was Cody Wanner and I was selling businesses vlog style videos for their business, I should own what is vlog style video in search. Now, I'm not going to own what is SEO, but there's so much value in owning the category definition for what it is that you do. All right, back to the video.
That are a potential buyer that's searching for it. So really, and like pillars have a tendency to rank for a lot of terms, a lot of the more general stuff. They pick up a lot of like where sometimes actually where I want like hub pages to rank, pillars will rank instead. So having that like that definition and getting everyone on the same page, I think, in the pillar is like really powerful. And then I try and look at hubs, or excuse me, like the hub pages as different types of intent and ways to write for different types of intent. And like each hub sort of, because if you map the different types of intent to stages of the purchase journey, you can kind of create a narrative structure for your hub as opposed to just like having it be sort of broken apart. And I find that when a hub is structured as like a thematic piece, the opt-in to like download the entire version as a PDF is much higher, rather than if it's just like get our 10 days of disjointed content that are like thematically related. If you have like almost like a little bit of a microsite, put some design effort into it, sort of like almost like a custom theme for the collection of content. I think that, and like, you know, kind of mapping all those different intents and those major questions people have about a product, that's really how to get opt-ins that I think are like product or category relevant. So I try and hit the dominant intents that are going to drive a reasonable amount of traffic in the various hubs. You know, I'd say it's tough to map specific intent when it gets really down funnel, and you can play around with like auto suggest, but I auto suggest will kind of give you what you want when you start suggesting certain words to it. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to measure, especially in like a B2B environment where, you know, like the entire product category, like head term gets like 3,000 searches a month. Getting that like that nitty gritty level of intent is tougher. And I find that just like using common sense and mapping it to like realistic questions people should or could have about the purchase journey is kind of where I take it. Like, not everything I do is going to be 100% backed by data. There's going to be some common sense and some business acumen in there to connect the dots, especially because like a lot of the stuff I'm working on is pretty new. I think mapping intent is important, but it also comes down to like knowing your buyer. And I think when you understand those concerns and those pain points, it allows you to structure, kind of connect the dots where the keyword volume is lacking. So, and I think like when you get to the bottom of the funnel, really it's going to be about like, how do you communicate with your customer? How do you answer those like deep burning questions that are keeping them from converting? And you might be able to find that on competitor content, and you might be able to find it in keyword volume. But I think a big part of it's going to have to just come from common sense and really understanding what people want to purchase and what their concerns are.
What kind of mistakes do you see beginners making when it comes to SEO and content?
I'd say the biggest mistake is probably being tactical instead of strategic. People like really focusing on like executing one piece and making it like this 10x piece of content, but not having really like a real network of content to sort of like bring buyers through. And I think also just I've seen in a lot of different businesses, and something that, sorry, I'm going to put my little buddy down.
No worries.
Is really not having a plan when it comes to content. That's why I like tools like Market Muse and like other types of like content inventory and planning tools, because understanding the sort of like what you need to execute against, instead of just having content be this nebulous thing that we're going to keep doing, but really like, how much traffic can we get predictably a month? How are we going to like back all of this stuff into traffic numbers? And then how are we going to convert that traffic? Like, what is our plan? And I think, especially because I came from the agency side early on, and this isn't a knock on any of the agencies I've worked at. The agencies I worked at were great. I just need to preface it's just like, it wasn't a concern. Like, I was doing SEO in 2010, 2011, and it was just like, we can get traffic to the site through Google. That is crazy. We didn't have a good understanding of like how to monetize that traffic, how to pull them in when people weren't ready to convert on the spot. Like what sort of like mid-funnel content could we give them that would get them to give us an email and get us to be able to follow up with them. I just didn't really I had an idea of like how to move SERPs, but I didn't understand like how to move revenue through a website. Trying to really focus on your product and like owning your product topic instead of like, we do, development. So we want to create like a guide for developers that want to find jobs, because that's something that like a lot of them want to do, like how to find the best job as a developer. But it's like, dude, you make a DevOps tool for like a very specific case, perhaps like job interview tips for developers. It might get cool people to look at your site and like, but like it's so far removed from your goals. Like focus on like the problems that you solve and the pain points that you have and really own that. And I have a client that ranks for a specific type of email template, and it drives so much traffic. But what the numbers in Ahrefs will tell you is like, those are a lot of consumers that are looking to do an interpersonal email. They're looking for like a specific type of email to send someone when they have a situation that happens in their personal life. It's not a business specific email. So like figuring out like the audience and everything, it's tough. Like focus on the things that your audience would be looking for and be like really specific. So, like if you're selling e-signature documents, I would focus on obviously like e-signature and like proposal creation and like structuring documents so they get signed faster, speeding up the time to close for deals, because that's really like what the whole thing is about, is speeding up your sales cycle. And like, so focusing on like speeding up the sales cycle, what people can do. And you can, when you focus on problems, you can provide like a lot of different solutions, but you can artfully, suggest like your product as one of those solutions. And I think, people worry about like, are you going to be biased? Like I create buyer's guides with my clients all the time. So, focusing on like, how do you buy this product is a great bottom of the funnel piece. Like go for the stuff where people are really ready to convert, and then build it out for more of the top of funnel stuff. So talking about the entire market and like summarizing where it stands today and where it's going and trends, and like really talking to buyers about like how to buy for it, how those tools will be used, how certain tools will be outdated soon. Like that's the position of thought leadership I'd recommend taking. So like that's like early on, don't just like go do like a content gap analysis and be like, we found that like customer service tips gets a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
So let's create like huge guides around that. And it's like, dude, then who was searching for that? Think about it. Go back to like really tying it to the product. And if it's, and those like big high traffic pieces, I try and structure those more to be like link stuff. I think the jury's kind of out on this. I am more about like getting like 10 to 15 really good links for an asset, and generally having them be like natural and from the other people that talk about that subject, rather than like, let's go create a viral chart and get it in like 50 to 100 publications that publish 60 pieces of content a day. It'll get shared once on Twitter. It'll be a blip on the radar. And like, I mean, if you are going to create that kind of viral content, where I do see it be successful is if it backs into a keyword. So like when people search for it, it ranks, continues to get more traffic just from ranking, and from it continues to get more links from ranking. If it's thematically connected to what you're doing, that's great. But like, I think links really were a big part of the algorithm, and they still are, but Google is clearly able to suss out like the meaning of content, and they're able to figure out like who is more authoritative in content, and links definitely factor into authority, but having better content is starting to win out. And I think just like, it's different in e-commerce, and no one's talking about e-commerce. I don't know shit about e-commerce, but in terms of like long form articles about thought leadership, like you definitely need links, and like authoritative sites are going to have an advantage, but you can crush by just like owning your topics outright. And I think Google understands that like links can be acquired and links can be manipulated, and not just like spammy shitty ones, like good links that are hard to get. Like you can create, like you can go on link building campaigns, and like why? Because you prioritize that, should more people get your traffic. Like I don't necessarily think it's like it's worthy of traffic just because like you can run an outreach campaign. Mm-hmm. So, and like, and maybe it is, and there's an argument to be made there, and that's like a philosophical thing. Like if people are willing to link to you, maybe you should get more traffic. But I think it's like kind of like, I don't think Google wanted to create a world of like secondary tools where people are just trying to like categorize and buy and share and sell links. Mm-hmm. So I think that like putting more emphasis on like content quality is going to be really important. So I would, if anything, like spend much more time. That's a mistake I made when I was in-house. Like I tried to do content for cheap, and I was like, well, this person can write, and we'll basically have them like skyscraper, whatever the fuck that means. Sorry, language, but
All good. All good.
all good, cool. I didn't have the ability to like really delegate content directions well yet. I wasn't using like solutions that could help me plan out content more fast, like Market Views. And I think I was just like, well, how, like I need like a unit of production. Like I want to get a piece of content out the door for like 600, 700 bucks. And now I hear like, I know that B2B writers are on like the 1,500, like to 2,000 range if they can like get a link or two as well. And like all the power to them. That's what good writing should cost. But like I would find people that like really know your space, can write about it deeply. And like a great way to do that is by hitting up the freelance writers who used to write for your competitors. But the like really getting writers who know what they're doing, because inauthenticity just like will kill your content before it gets out the door. And so like spending more time on knowledgeable writers, like I talk to some folks that are like, how can we get it for, like our unit economics want it to be like around like 200 a post. And it's just like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And it's tough.
All they're doing is Googling the top 3 things, trying to learn it, and then cramming that back into an article.
Yeah, that's exactly. But I mean, that's where we were like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I think like, consultants are so smug about like, well, this is how you do. It's like, dude, like 3 years ago, we were doing the exact same shit. And we literally live and breathe this all day. Like the amount of time like a real VP of marketing thinks about SEO, unless it's like a purely SEO driven business or a primarily SEO driven business, is not that large. And I constantly am like, educating clients who, they're at a successful company. They built a lot of content. They got the SEO thing going a few years ago. They're at their next company now. Like, well, why don't we just do this? I will not go into specifics about the actual company, but a founder created a ComScore top 20 web property a few years before he started the startup I was at. And he was like, no, you just like push spam into the index and we go. So I think it's tough because people still expect like the unit economics of SEO from 5 years ago to be the same today. And when they hear like, nah, like the web is matured, with maturity comes budget. And like you just to like table stakes, it's going to cost you $40,000 just to compete on like these, like, 500 terms just to get that content up, like not even to promote it, not to design it, to get like knowledgeable writers who can instantly write about like, containerized environments or like how to do like CI/CD and like all like the more niche, I'd say like high tech or like developer operations stuff that I work on. It's very tough to find writers who will write for cheap that can actually like create content that'll convert. And I think if anything, like spending a little more in content is what I would have done. And like not being so worried about like the pure unit economics of like how many visits we can get and how much will a visit cost. That's what I would recommend, because I think that they're like, if anything, like traffic, like the SEO it's all just like an opportunity to get some eyeballs on your traffic that needs to be like persuasive and authoritative, or get some eyeballs on your content that needs to be persuasive and authoritative. Mm-hmm. So putting more effort into the actual content and like figuring out the sort of like how that equals like leads and pipeline, rather than just like we're gonna start creating content for like this amount, we're gonna hit these keywords over time, but like really how do we create something that really stands out? And I think I was just at certain portions of my career, I was like, I just felt pressure to produce. And when you go and like spend 4 months creating like one asset, it's a huge risk. And like you got to have other irons in the fire, of course, but it's like you're putting a lot of your eggs in one basket. And I think at a certain point in my career, I was just like really afraid to do that. But to really have something that's going to stand out and take and get noticed on the internet and be something that like you want to create something that everyone that has the job title that you're trying to sell into would bookmark that content. And it's not going to come from $700 or $800 a post. It's probably, in my opinion, it's unless that writer becomes like really embedded with your team, it's probably not going to come from an outsourced writer. Like you need someone who can not only like talk about your product category, but also like your brand ethos, like what your unique value proposition is and how you differentiate. And they're going to need to know how to work that in subtly and not just like throw it in at a call to action at the end, but really create the content so it's persuasive to a buyer through the entire point without being like sort of hitting you over the head and being overly salesy, pulling you into the funnel gracefully, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's true of clients at every level, right? Like that's true of clients that you know, that are the local window wash, you know, one of our like kind of cool clients is like the biggest window washers in Chicago. Like they need that same kind of strategy, maybe not the same technical expertise in writing, but the same kind of like considerations about like, all right, we're not going to look at like a keyword and a volume and here's the article for that. And then the next keyword, the next article. And you just end up with this very disjointed like blog roll of garbage, all the way up to like what you're talking about, like very nuanced tech with like where like there could be like a really long sales cycle and all of these different things. Nobody's opting in, nobody's putting in their contact information and getting closed that day, you know? Talk to me a little bit about like your work and like how do people get in touch with you and things like that?
I typically work with B2B SaaS companies. I'd say typically like 10 to about 80 million in venture funding is sort of the sweet spot. Usually I'd say like in the middle range, 40 is like the real sweet spot. But yeah, we help B2B SaaS companies own their product topic online through the use of topic clusters. So we focus on mapping content to the purchase journey and focusing on their product and product marketing. So really figuring out all the different ways that we can use content to sort of promote their product and reach their buyers. If you want to check out some work, if you type in Chaos Monkey, it's on page 1 of Google. It's on the Gremlin website. But really that was to own the entire topic of Chaos Monkey. We create really long form, intricate clusters that rank and for terms from the top of the funnel down to the very bottom. If you want to get in touch with me, check out my website. It's Growth Plays, or hit me up on Twitter at JHT on Twitter. Had a little too much coffee this morning. But yeah, I'd say if you are, if you have, typically I work with like sales assisted SaaS. So it's about getting more emails into the database. I do work with a few like self-sign-up SaaS companies as well. But yeah, typically like sales assisted, higher ACV products with the pretty long or like highly considered sales cycle. So yeah, definitely. And like specifically right now, like a lot of focus on like Kubernetes, chaos engineering, DevOps space in general. So yeah, I like to work with like more technical products. And my work has a big focus on AI. I'm a big fan of the market use product, and that allows us to really plan out content without having deep technical expertise ourselves, which can be pretty tough. Like, enough to get us there, but really the AI does a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the research for us. And by leveraging that technology, we can move a lot faster without spending, hours researching, what is ITSEO or what is a service mesh or all these other like basic terms that we just have to like come to the table knowing otherwise.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on 100 Days of SEO.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, so that was John Henry Scherck. I hope you all enjoyed it. Big shout out to Flywheel for sponsoring this episode. If you need fast, reliable WordPress hosting, Flywheel is where I host all of my websites. You can check out some of the links in the description where I show exactly how to set up a brand new, fast, reliable, secure website on Flywheel and buy a new domain name in only 5 minutes, as well as why hosting is one of the secret weapons when it comes to SEO. So check out those 2 videos in the description. Also, if you need really good show notes for your YouTube channel or your podcast, you can go to 100daysofseo.com. Check out all of the blog posts there. I use podreacher.com. They're the ones that help me put together all of the blog posts for 100 Days of SEO. I've been Brendan Hufford. Don't forget to work hard, be nice to people, and don't get too lost trying to create something that matters.